You probably think you know exactly how wealth is built, right? Hard work, pure talent, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, what if I told you that's completely wrong? Today, we're tearing down everything you assume about business success. We're going to expose a hidden, invisible system that actually decides who gets rich and who stays poor. Welcome to today's Explainer.
When most of us look at global migration, we kind of just see this one single narrative, survival. Migrants working brutal jobs just to send grocery money back home to their families. It's a nice, simple, tragic story. But here's the thing, it's totally backwards.
Because that survival money, it's actually the ultimate cheat code for building wealth. We're not talking about groceries here. We are talking about massive, high-powered venture capital funds for the poor. Imagine this. While traditional banks absolutely refuse to lend to these folks, historic migration networks step in and act exactly like Silicon Valley angel investors. It's wild.
We call this the railroad hack. Basically, it's a bizarre, century-old transportation network that secretly dictates who succeeds in modern business. Seriously, geography is destiny here. If you want to know who's running a high-profit startup today, don't look at their college degree. Look at where train tracks were laid over 100 years ago.
Section 1. Old railroads decide business fate. Now, this isn't some wild internet conspiracy theory. We're looking at hard, peer-reviewed data straight from the Journal of Development Economics. Researchers Woodruff and Zenteno meticulously dug into over 6,000 small businesses across 44 different urban areas in Mexico, and the numbers they found? Honestly, they are undeniable.
Let's look at the timeline. Back in the early 1900s, U.S. rail companies built these tracks straight into specific Mexican states, purely to transport labor, nothing more. Then, skip to the 1940s, the Bracero guest worker program kicks in and heavily recruits from those exact same rail towns. Fast forward to 1998, those specific historical train towns completely, and I mean completely, dominated the modern microenterprise boom. It's like this invisible logic chain. Step 1, train tracks get built just for convenience. Step 2, mass migration naturally follows those tracks. Step 3, over decades, this massive informal wealth network is forged. And step 4, that old network starts providing serious startup cash flow today. Literally, the ghost of a 1910 train is funding a modern startup right now. How crazy is that?
Moving on to Section 2. Data reveals the wealth truth.
Just look at the sheer scale of this unfair advantage, 35 to 40%. That's the massive increase in business capital you get simply by being born in a state connected to these old migration networks. Think about that. No extra talent, no extra 80-hour work weeks, just having the right zip code a century later gives you up to a 40% head start.
And where is this invisible VC money actually going? It's not being blown on flat-screen TVs or luxury clothes, right? No, this is serious, calculated business investment. The data clearly shows these funds are going straight into hard, wealth-generating assets. We're talking vehicles, heavy tools, equipment, and expanding inventory. They're building real businesses.
Which brings us to Section 3, breaking the capital wall.
Because here is the brutal reality of the business world. There's this massive, invisible wall separating small-time hustles from heavy-hitting market players. If you're in a low-capital sector, like a tiny repair shop, your sales are usually pretty stagnant. But high-capital sectors, like transport, that's where you see explosive profits. And this historic migration network, it's literally the only thing changing the game for these folks.
Without this network, these businesses just starve. They hit this financial ceiling they absolutely cannot break because banks won't even look at them for a loan. But with the network, that capital ceiling completely shatters. Boom! They buy the expensive truck. They open the bigger shop. They step out of bare minimum survival and cross over into pure profit.
All right, Section 4. Academic Showdown. Mexico versus India. Let's zoom out and compare this globally. There's a really famous study by Banerjee and Munshi in India that showed networks basically just lower the cost of capital for small shirt makers. Slightly cheaper loans. But Woodruff and Zenteno's Mexican data proves something way more explosive. The Mexican miracle doesn't just make things a little cheaper, it breaks that capital ceiling entirely.
So here is the ultimate aha moment. These historical networks don't just shave a few measly percentage points off an interest rate. No, they completely unlock elite, expensive industries that poor entrepreneurs are normally strictly locked out of. This network isn't just a discount coupon. It is the literal VIP key to the highest levels of the economy.
But wait, Section 5, the fatal flaw uncovered.
Listen, I'm not letting this study off the hook that easily. We have to tear down their blind spots. First off, they rely on ancient 1998 data. Second, they only looked at internal migrants. That is a massive selection bias, right? Because these people moving internally might just be naturally more ambitious to begin with. And third, unmeasured survival bias. We're only seeing the businesses that actually survived long enough to take the survey, totally ignoring the thousands that probably crashed and burned.
Which brings us to our final, kind of stunning realization. So, who really controls your access to wealth today? Is it your talent, or is it a ghost train from 1910? Honestly, think about your own life for a second. How much of your success is really your own doing, and how much relies on invisible tracks laid down a century before you were even born? The foundations of wealth are rarely what they seem on the surface. Keep questioning everything, guys, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.